You are listening to the Main Event Moto podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 157 of Main Event Moto. It's just Daniel this week. And I've had people tell me in the past that when it's just me and it's not the Bat Bros all together in the Bat Cave, that it's boring. So, if that's you, then you can stop listening right now because it's just me and I'm going to bore you. If you want to hear a Daytona breakdown from just me, then stick around. I'd like to talk to you guys. It's going to be a good show. I'll give you guys my best effort. Huge shout out to Fly Racing, Motosport.com, Mika Metals, Scott USA. We'll have our prospect listener questions. Really good ones this week. Guts Racing, of course, Andy Gregg, thank you so much. No Toil, All-American Chevy of Colleen, Screen Printing Done, EMT Racing, and DRS Suspension with Racetech. I'm very, very happy with DRS Suspension and Racetech right now. They just redid Evan's 65 suspension, and it is superb. Also, huge shout out to Viral Moto, Olmi Creations, and of course, Law Tigers. I'll give you my Law Tigers weekly update later in the show. You guys are going to be proud of me. I actually am taking this serious. I want you all to know. It's not a joke. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not, but this week was not a joke. I actually did very well, and I'll tell you about that later. Kind of bummed that it's just me. Had some cool plans this week. Me and Hobo Nick, we're going to try to do some fun stuff, but it just didn't work out for a couple of reasons. Number one, schedule conflicts with him and I. He had his girlfriend Audrey there. Our mutual friend Rhett and his dad Randy were with us, and I wasn't going to try to trap them into sitting down and doing a podcast with me, and then my schedule was pretty busy this weekend too, so we didn't really get a chance to do what we wanted to do. We were planning on Sunday morning doing something, do a little review, because Saturday night, we should have just done it Saturday night. We got back to the hotel. We all just sat there and talked about our thoughts on the night. We were all pretty revved up. Unfortunately, at that time, my phone was almost dead. And then Sunday morning, daylight savings time, I didn't set my alarm correctly. I'm sorry. It didn't work out. Barely made my flight. Didn't make it happen. So now it's just me, and thought about maybe just skipping this week's episode, but that's not cool. And again, I'm not coming home this week until Wednesday, so unfortunately we can't all get together. So it's just me, but I'm going to give you guys my best breakdown. I made notes. I'm going to give you guys everything I got, so hopefully you like it. I'll break down Daytona. We'll do listener questions later. It'll be good. But I thought I'd kick things off by giving you guys a little bit more background on some of the things that we do, or at least that I do when I'm at the races. I sometimes forget how lucky I am that I do what I do and have the opportunity to be a part of this sport before, during, and after. And you just kind of get caught up in the grind. You get caught up in your life, and you forget that it's pretty awesome. So I'm grateful to do what I do, and I want to give you guys a little bit behind the scenes on some of the stuff we do before and during the race, which I thought you might like. If not, again, I'm sorry. Sometimes I'm boring. So what we've done this year, a little bit different, huge shout out to Bondo for making this happen, is we, on Fridays before press, get a chance to sit down with some of the teams in a one-on-one setting, and it's not like a media type thing where we're interviewing them. It's more like, hey, we sit at a table. It's me, Will, Ralph, Ricky. Sometimes it's not all of us, depending on our travel schedules, but we sit down with the teams and the riders, and we just talk, and just the conversation sways in and out of what's going on with your racing, what's going on with your life, what do you think about this, what do you think about that. This week we had a chance to sit down with Ken Roxon and Justin Brayton before press, and then after press we sat down with Garrett Marchbanks and Jordan Smith, and that's what I kind of want to talk about, because that one was, the timing couldn't have been better. Garrett Marchbanks wins the race, and we had a chance to sit down and just talk to him. He had his girlfriend Courtney with him. Ivan Tedesco, he's his coach and trainer. If you watch the race, I'm sure you mentioned or heard me mention that. We got the camera on him during the race, and I thought it was meaningful to bring him up because he was in this meeting with us. He actually went and sat down at the table away from us. I'm like, Ivan, get over here. I go back a long time with him, and I don't get a chance to talk to him ever. So I was like, hey, come on over, just come chill and chat with us. And it was cool just to talk to Garrett and Ivan both together and just kind of hear their thoughts. Garrett turned pro way young, and I was kind of curious of why that happened and why they threw him out there so quick. And it really wasn't the plan originally. And I from what he told me is that going into the 2018 Outdoor Championships, he was racing amateur. He raced Daytona Amateur Day. He raced all the Spring Nationals. They said he was just crushing it. Well, he turned 16. Adam Cincerello got hurt, or didn't get hurt, but went in for knee surgery. Martin Davos was hurt. So it was one of those things where they needed somebody, and he was riding so good that they said, you know what, let's go. And I thought his rookie season was okay. I don't think he was 100% prepared for it, but he had just started working with Ivan, and they survived it, and that was an okay season. He was good, he was bad, he was fast, he was slow. Just I guess what you would expect when you throw a 16-year-old out there when he hasn't been preparing for the national. And it was cool to hear that story from him and Ivan. And Ivan, of course, starts working with him right before that. And now they've been together for, we're going on about 2 years. And it was just a good conversation, a lot of information for me. And the reason why it was good for me is I had Ivan Tedesco there to tell me more about Garrett than Garrett can really tell me about Garrett. Because you got to remember, he's still an 18-year-old kid. I think he knows what he's thinking in his head, but just in a conversation, he's not going to be able to open up all the way. So being able to kind of provoke him with Ivan there and get a little bit more of the story from both of them, it gave me a lot of background knowledge and a lot of understanding of who he is as a rider and where he's going. And I'll get more into him when I give you my actual breakdown, because I've got some stuff on him that's interesting. And I have an interesting perspective moving forward with him. So I'll get to that later. Jordan Smith was also in the meeting, and this one was hard because I've mentioned on this show before, he's having a rough season, and I haven't been as hard on him, I think, as maybe some of you have wanted. I even had a DM, a week or two ago that said, Jordan Smith's a bust, you're too soft on him. And it's like, I don't think that's fair, because I've said that he's had a rough go, but the guy has had this wrist problem that has just not been getting better, and he's having to use a brace still. He's been battling this and battling that, so I feel like I've been somewhat fair. And getting a chance to sit with him, you get a better idea of what he's going through, and then you sometimes this is hard. This is the really hard part, because I have to do my job on television. This podcast doesn't really count. This is whatever. Sometimes I'm loose, sometimes I hold back, whatever. On TV, I have to do my job. You got to say certain things, and if you don't get a chance to talk to these guys in a sit-down conversation where you fully understand, you're left kind of guessing. And so getting a chance to sit with him and his fiance and just really, get away from racing for a second, you understand how much frustration is going on from someone like him, who that's his job, is to perform. And when he can't perform to his best because of nagging injuries and things that are kind of out of his control, you just see the other side. And I think you guys need to understand how hard it is to cover this sport, because a lot of the information you want to give is based on what you see, and you don't know it all. And they don't share it all because you don't get a chance to hear them share it all. And it's just, I find this hard, especially when I'm sitting there with him and his fiance, who is, they're super cool, they're funny. Jordan jokes around that I'm not getting an invite to their wedding because I'm not nice on TV. I need to be nicer to him on TV. And I said, hey, if I get a chance this week, I'll say something nice, and then I'll expect the invite. And of course, he's joking. This is all in like playful terms. And then for him to go down, obviously, and be laying there holding his knee and limp off, I'm just like, man, like the human side of this is so brutal, because I just sat with them and I'm thinking, okay, what's he thinking now about his life and career? What's his fiance saying? What's Mitch Payton? There's so much more to this. And I don't know, when you treat these guys just like athletes that are on the screen, it's so hard because there's so many layers to this, and you just don't know it until you sit down. So conversation was cool. The Roxon Brayton one was pretty simple and generic. We've talked to these guys so much this year that it was mostly just catching up, hanging out, and I thought that one was fine. But the Pro Circuit one was, again, on the back side of that, with Marchbanks getting the win and Jordan Smith getting hurt and laying there on the screen holding his knee. I'm just like, man, you just forget. I wish I could talk to every one of these guys for an hour every week and get a better idea, because then you can really understand the messaging that you have to deliver on the show, and that's just hard. Next thing behind the scenes, Race Day Live this week. For those of you that caught it, we were in the 500 suites, which is across from the grandstands. I'm not a big background NASCAR NASCAR Daytona guy. I don't know all the history of this place. I know the history of this place from a Supercross perspective, but apparently being in that 500 suites is a pretty big deal. That's the other side of the stadium. That's where we got to have our set, and I thought it was cool. But people I talked to were like, "This is rad that you guys are here. This is a there's meaning to be in that building." And I thought it was one of our coolest shows. You don't often get to have some A-level guests. We had Jason Anderson and Justin Barcia back to back, which again, it's hard for us to get the A-level guys sometimes because of our location and the timing. They need to debrief after practice, and we're lucky when we get these guys. Cooper Webb we had a couple weeks ago in Arlington. The reason why is because we were right next to the KTM truck. So he walked right over, did the show, walked back. It's not always that convenient. And even this year, I got to give it up to Dave Prater and everybody at Feld and to Doug. They wanted us in the pits. They wanted to create this set. They wanted us to have better access to the riders, and that's hard. We have a bigger set to set up. It's way more difficult on the technical side. The crew is at the trucks. It's super far away, but we're trying to make that show better by having access to these riders so we can get the A-list guys. And last year, to be honest, the shows were so convenient. We're up in the suites. Me and Jim are just sitting there chilling, but the riders had a nightmare getting there, and it was hard for us to get an Anderson or a Barcia. And they would do it, but it's always reluctant because it's inconvenient to their day. So for us to be in the 500 suites, be right there by the garages, I'm sure the riders did have a problem getting away from the garages a little bit because everyone's trapped in the same garage, which is, I think, is rad for Daytona. But it enabled us to get two A-list guys. Ricky Johnson was there. I'm a huge fan of Rick Johnson, and I got to admit, I'm a human being. So when I hear that a legend of the sport thinks highly of me, it makes me feel really good. I'm a human being. I'm not going to lie and sit here and act like I'm numb to that. And I know that Rick Johnson was on the Whiskey Throttle show a long time ago, maybe a year ago. And somebody said, "Oh, you got to listen. You got to hear what Rick Johnson said about you." And I'm like, "Rick Johnson? Like the Rick Johnson? Like said something about me?" And then I go on there and hear him saying how, that kid, he called me a kid, that kid Daniel does really good on TV. I love listening to him. And I'm like, this is someone that I've looked up to since I was 8 years old. And when you hear that, you're just, I'm a human. How do you expect me to feel? And to have him on the show and then have him after we're done, go to commercial break and literally shook my hand 3 times telling me how great I'm doing. That means a lot. And I'm a human being. So when I hear someone like that gives me confidence. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I'm doing a good job. And it was awesome to have him on. He was great telling stories. I think he cussed a little on the show. I think he said ass. I think he said something about, if you have the balls. And then he made fun of me and my racing career a little bit, which you guys know I bag on myself all the time. But just having a genuine conversation with him, and then also, of course, him telling me that I'm doing a good job meant a lot to me. So, but the show was good. Anderson was an incredible interview because he is all the time. Anderson gets this thing where he's he's this rogue guy who doesn't give an F. And when you talk to him, he talks and he'll give it to you and he'll tell you what he's thinking, and he's not afraid. I thought he said something cool in the Race Day Live. He said, I'm 11th in qualifying in the first round, and I'm not changing anything. The team's like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, nothing. It's me. And then I said that in the broadcast, how he said, I'll get better. And he did. He got better every single time he rode. And I admire that. I understand you got to tweak the bikes, whatever. But to hear him say, I ain't changing anything, it's me, I appreciate that, because I think that's high character. Barcia's on the show. He's a great interview, too. He's turned into an incredible interview, if you want to be honest about it. And I asked him about, what do you think? The fans are saying, you're Bam Bam. You should be able to take this Tomac stuff. And he just laughs and answers. So I really appreciated both of those interviews. And I thought Race Day Live was just one of our, I don't know what it looked like to you all, but to me, it was one of the better ones. When I was done, I was just, man, that was a good show. And so it was cool. Another behind-the-scenes thing that I think you guys will find funny if you watch the broadcast and opening ceremonies, I'm doing my opening hit on Roczen and Tomac, and Roczen kind of is in the background, like giving the horns, and then he goes by me, and you can't hear it in my mic because it's not pointing at him, but he says, "Let's go, baby," and he kind of like messed with me as he's leaving. The funny thing is we were doing a rehearsal. We do a rehearsal all the time just to make sure we're all good. We get our rhythm figured out. And my first take I did on that was a rehearsal. It was pretty good. We actually started on Roczen, then swung the camera over to Tomac's side. And it was all right, but we're like, let's do it a little bit better, because right when we went to swing to Tomac's side, the national anthem hit, and Tomac starts putting his hand over his heart, and it's like, it just made the timing super goofy. So Bondo's like, "Hey, we're going to do it again. We're going to do it again." I'm like, "Okay, no problem." I'm ending up getting crew. Like, I'm like getting the Honda people and Cali people like out of the garage. Like, I need this set the way I need it, because I want to swing from Roczen to Tomac. And right before we start, Tomac gets on his bike and rides off. And I'm like, damn it. Like, I had something set up, so I had to adjust on the fly a little bit. And so Bondo's like, "It's all good. It's all good. Just go." So I'm like, all right, I'll just do it on Roczen. And I get started, and he's behind me. I don't know this is happening, but he's behind me giving the horns, fired up. Then he walks by me, kind of mess with me, and I'm like, this guy's pumped up. Like, I just kind of adjusted on the fly. And then I was done, and I'm thinking maybe that was messed up. It ain't going to work. And they're like, no, that's good. We're gonna run with that, because it was cool. The points leader, one of them, is messing with me during a live report. But little secret for y'all, that wasn't live. So sorry if I wasn't supposed to reveal that, but no, that was recorded and put in there. And the reason why is because we wanted those guys in the shot. It would have been kind of lame if it was just me in the garage by myself, or me standing in front of the gate, or you know what I mean. It ended up being really cool because you got to see a little bit of Roczen's personality. But yeah, little secret for y'all, that was pre-recorded. Anyways, next on my list of things, the press conference. I didn't do it this week. It's funny because I had a lot of people DM me and say, "Oh man, where were you at the press conference, blah blah." And then I actually had a couple people even online, because I always watch the press conference if I'm not doing it. I want to hear what they say. And there's people in the YouTube comments saying it's about time they got rid of Daniel. And for those of you that think that it's about time they got rid of me, well, I apologize for the rest of the series, because I'll be back. I'm sorry that I bother you so bad in the press conferences, but I'm back in Indy, so sorry for that. Anyways, it was good, though. I like the press conference, and I like the setting when hearing those three guys talk. It's different for me when I'm watching it from my screen and not from there, because usually I'm standing there, and this was cool. I actually liked being on this side of it, so I could hear those guys talk. And but unfortunately, I'll be back at the next one. So anyways, all right, we're gonna take our first commercial break. Joe's gonna work his magic, and then we'll come back and we'll review the Daytona, at least some notes that I have on the race, and then of course we'll do listener questions after that.
Main event moto.
There's a reason I run DRS suspension and Race Tech hard parts with Mika Metal's chains, bars, and sprockets on Evans 65. First off, DRS suspension settings work everywhere. I haven't changed a clicker since I put them on. Maybe it's the internals from Race Tech that give it that extra something.
American-made products with a 100% guarantee. You don't see that every day.
Yeah, the DRS Race Tech combo works for me. And what can I say about Mika?
First off, they've been with us since the beginning.
The quality of their bars is top of the line, and Mika is the only chain and sprocket combo I run. Motoheads, get with the program. It's DRS suspension, Race Tech, Mika Metals.
Say it again.
It's DRS suspension, Race Tech, Mika Metals. Is that good, Joe?
Yeah.
I love when NorCal companies take the world by storm. Guts Racing seat covers and no-toil filters are made right here at home, but their products travel the country and world on some of the baddest dudes' bikes in pro racing.
Who runs Guts?
Too many factory teams to list, Joe.
Who runs No Toil?
Well, it's the only filter Chad Reed will run. Guts and No Toil make only the best. So visit gutsracing.com and notoil.com and step up your game, Motoheads.
Look good? Check. Protection? Check.
Fly Racing has had the gear game on lock for years, but the Formula helmet has taken Fly to another level. They didn't just make a high-quality helmet, they redefined the standard for the most important piece of safety equipment on a rider's body.
Use your head and protect your head. Run the Fly Formula helmet.
Then cover the rest of your body in Fly's Evolution and Kinetic gear lines.
Easy decision. Main Event Moto Podcast.
All right, and we're back. So we're going to break down the Daytona Supercross. And again, this will be a little bit different for y'all. Normally, we're all together in the back cave and we're just chatting and talking, and it's pretty loose. I don't get too much into the analyst mode because I got guests, and we just all kind of share the mood and convo it, and that's that style. This style will be a little bit different. It'll be me breaking it down, and I thought about this pretty heavy, so I could give you guys just my real thoughts on Daytona. A couple things. First off, I know a lot of people are upset about the track, and I've even seen people saying, like, Ricky designed a bad track. I can tell you right now, you ask Ricky what he thinks of the track. He said before it even happened, this is going to be tough. There was less room to be able to design it because of the logo. They wanted to go with an old school kind of feel because it was the 50th. And Ricky said, like, he was worried about it. What y'all need to know about Ricky, too, I just, for those of you who don't know, he is the realest, normalest dude ever. And he's not, he has, like, no ego. And it's weird because even when he kind of will say something about himself, he hates it. He's not, like, if you diss the track, he'll diss the track. If Ricky is just, he's that kind of guy. That's why, I like him more now than I ever did. He's the kind of guy that'll sign every autograph to every kid that walks by. He's nice Ricky's awesome. And I've seen people already online saying, like, Ricky designed a crappy... Ricky did the best with what he could, and for the most part, I thought it was an incredible track to ride. It was super challenging. It didn't race that well, and you just don't blame him. He knew. Ask him, he'll tell you he was worried that this was going to be a tough one, that he worked hard to make it work. For the most part, it did. The 450 main was awesome. So for those of you who didn't like the track, I get it. But at the same time, the race that mattered the most was incredible. I would have liked to seen them let the track get worse and deeper and ruddier and gnarlier, but the track crew has to do things for safety. So without question, they're going to do what they got to do. But the only thing I could say going back is I wish they would have cleaned up the jump faces and left the corners and let it just go completely to crap. I think that would have been cool, but it is what it is. So, the track was tough to pass on. Again, I thought it was awesome to watch them ride. It was super challenging, but racing was tough for most of the night. Eli Tomac, got to give him credit. Duh, right? Like, this guy, he was incredible. But the way he did this race reminded me of the way he races motocross. In the last few years, how we've seen this guy get into he has these hero rides late where he gets into the race and it's kind of just steady, and he's kind of, for 15 minutes or so, he's just kind of figuring it out. He doesn't look great. And then he just locks in and goes. That's exactly what he did. And I don't know if this was an accident because Cooper Webb was being so stubborn with him early, just blocking him. Like, Cooper, the guy's a defensive genius in his racecraft. But Eli seemed like he had a hard time getting going. He made some mistakes, had a hard time getting around Anderson for a minute. Then Webb was kind of whatever. But then all of a sudden, the halfway mark hit, and he went psycho mode. And it reminded me of the outdoors. And once he gets into freight train mode, it's weird because you've seen all these years where he makes these mistakes, but when he gets into this crazy mode, he makes no mistake. He is absolutely unstoppable. And that's what he did. It was crazy because as soon as he flipped the switch, it was over. It's like he decided this was over. And he gets by Webb finally, and we're looking at the clock, and I'm going, man, poor Ken. Ken don't know yet what's coming. And Eli just went ham, straight up. And the track was getting worse. He was getting better. And he's just got this ability. Again, it depends on the environment. It depends on the track. But he has the ability to kind of wait around and then flip a switch. And he did that. It reminded me of what he's been doing in the Motocross Championship the last 2 years. And he nailed it. And you got to give him credit, too, just coming off of Atlanta. That was you would say it's a bad one for him. It didn't go the way he wanted. Press day, he crashed twice, had a front flat, which I don't know if that caused one of the crashes. Crashing twice on press day. Come on, when does that happen? In his heat race, he was kind of off and then got a flat tire at the end. I think he blew some spokes. So he had a kind of a bad heat. Then the main takes off, and Kenny's checking out, and you're just thinking, like, man, this guy is got everything going against him for what he likes, and then he just goes nuts. And I thought it was incredible to watch. Of course, I'm watching the screen, so I'm not really getting to watch it in real time. But then talking to Hobo Nick after, who was in the stands, said it was unhuman. He goes full ET, and I appreciate my position in getting to watch, but it would have been nice to actually take the monitor away and watch from the stands, because it was a work of art. And from everyone I've talked to, said it was just insane. And again, I feel bad for Kenny. He didn't know what was coming, and Eli gets credit for that. It's Daytona. He's a 4-time winner there now. I asked Ricky before the race, I said, do you think he gets to 5? Ricky's got the record at 5, and Ricky said, yeah, he thinks he's going to get 4, and then he's going to get 5. It's hard to argue. The guy is straight amazing in that environment, and you got to give him credit for taking that points lead back. We'll get into Roxton now. Kenny's got to be stoked. I mean, and he was. If you watch the podium, I was a little concerned because, again, remember, I interview second place, so I interview the loser every time. That's me. I even told Will, I said, this is unfair. Like, you always get the happy guy, and I always get the mad guy, and we'll get to Chase Sexton in a minute because he was so pissed. I always get the loser every time, and I'm thinking to myself, man, Kenny is out front, gone. He's going to win the 50th. He wanted this win so bad, and I have to interview him after Eli closed and got him, and I'm thinking he's upset. Ken was pumped, and the way I see it is he knew that in a 17-round championship, guys are going to have their places, where they're good, where they're bad. He knew this was Eli's house. He knew that to win this one would take something extra special, and he almost had it. And I think he looks at this as a win. Yeah, he lost 3 points. He didn't get the win, but he looks at it as a win in the big picture because he's missed 3 of the last 5 years here from injury. He's never been great here. I think he maybe had a podium back on the 250, but I don't think he even had a podium here on a 450. Maybe his rookie year he did. I didn't look back that far. But for the last 5 years, this has not been a place where he has had anything to be happy about. I mean, he wasn't even here for more than half of it. And for him to be that close and be able to put together a really great night, I think he looks at it as a win, and I'll bet you he's pumped right now on Monday, confident, fired up, ready to go for Indy, because this was a win for him. Not on paper, not in points, but in perspective, I thought it was awesome. I want to address something again. I don't want this to be an episode where I'm addressing negatives towards myself, because I normally just blow this stuff off. But I had a couple DMs that said, 2 in particular, that said I was extremely disrespectful in the broadcast because I mentioned that Kenny of 2019 would fold, and I didn't say fold. I said wouldn't fold, succumb to the pressure, and I don't feel like that was disrespectful. Again, this goes back to me trying to do my job, but also, balance, not being disrespectful to these guys. But in the moment when I'm talking about his history in the series of being 2019 Kenny versus 2020, I said I don't want to use the word fold because that was wrong, but I said succumb to the pressure, which, I feel like I'm covering this the best that I can. Like, it's the truth. In 2019, he had some races where I don't think he folded to Cooper Webb. I think he just succumbed to the pressure. The pressure came and he wasn't able to hold it off. I don't think he cracked. The guy lost a couple races last year by .00 whatever because someone was a little better that night. But I wanted to bring up that history because in 2020 he's been running away with these things. So again, I don't want to address every time someone says something that I normally will just blow this all off. I've grown over the years to where this stuff doesn't get to me, but I did have 2 people say that I was disrespectful to Ken over that, and that's just, I felt like I said the right thing, and if it came across that way, then I didn't mean it in any way other than I'm just trying to tell history and I'm trying to bring perspective because I'm trying to give the audience an understanding of people change and grow, and this year has been different. So anyways, I just whatever. I probably shouldn't even. Joe's gonna be pissed that I even talked about this. Joe's been my coach. He says ignore what people say, but sometimes I can't because I just wanted to address that. I felt like I said that right. I felt like it was respectful. I didn't think it was disrespectful. So, anyways, moving on though. Kenny was great. Cooper Webb, I thought he was awesome. He fought hard. He gave it all he had. Dude, he was fighting so hard. He would not let Eli by in the beginning. That guy is so stubborn when he is in front, and for the most part, other than that little mistake where Eli got him, he was great. He just didn't have what the top 2 had on this night. He said that. He said he's going to find some more. But you got to think about what that guy's been through in the last 14 days. The crash, then the ribs, which, by the way, from what I understand is he was so compressed with stuff around his side, his stomach and his ribs, that his ribs popped. They had nowhere to go, so they dislocated in the back. And from what I understand, it's not a dramatic deal. Like, you can... I'm no doctor, but from what I understand, Doc G put him back in, and then he was good to go. But during the middle of the race in Atlanta, his ribs dislocate on the back side from having so much pressure. And then, just dealing with that. And then the guy's been through hell. And for him to be out there just digging and going for it, I thought it was awesome. Is there anyone on the planet that's going to question his character ever? No. No. The guy... He's insane, and he just didn't have what they had, and that's just how it is. And I don't know. I think the championship's over for him. I hate to say that, but I just don't know if you can catch up to two guys. If he was down 20, whatever he's down now, and it was one guy, maybe Kenny or just Eli, then maybe something can happen. But Kenny and Eli are going to push each other to be at their best. They're not going to let up. And, in years past, when a guy's a big points lead, maybe he gets a little complacent. Maybe he tries to salvage, and then he gets himself in this weird mode where things happen. Those two are pushing each other so hard. I just don't think Cooper's going to be able to overcome two of them, if that makes sense. I think the 2020 championship is over for him. And it's just, he's going to look back and go, man, I was sick in the beginning. The crash, I thought he fought hard for this one, but I could see him being super pissed in 2021 to get it back because, again, he just had a lot of things thrown at him, and I thought he handled them as good as he could. Remember the podium in Anaheim won while he was sick. The podium in Atlanta after the crash in the guy has responded so good to the things that have come his way. But at the same time, my math tells me it's over. 2020 is over. I don't think he's got a shot at the title. Again, there's just two guys that are on their A-est of A games, and I don't see both of them screwing up. Especially, again, when they're pushing each other to be better. Neither one of them are going to ride in defense mode because they can't. And when they're both on it, they're just on it. So, my opinion, 2020 championship hopes are done for Webb. 2021, the dude is going to be so pissed, and I would expect him to be incredible next year. That's my 450 breakdown of the top three. I'm not going to go back any further than that. I'm not going to do every guy, but that's my podium. 250s. So start with Marchbanks. Again, working with Ivan Tedesco I think is a good thing because Tedesco is not only a good coach, but I think he's, from what I understand, a great test rider. He's worked for Mitch at Pro Circuit for years, testing the bikes and not production testing, but race testing. So when you're 18 years old and you have a coach who's also the test rider for the team, it's just a great combo. I think Nick Way is an incredible, perfect person for Adam Cincerella. Everyone has their perfect guy. Marchbanks being this young kid, I think he hit the jackpot with Ivan being his guy. And during the race, I actually took the camera and found Ivan, and I even said, Ivan, don't move, because he was in a group, and I'm like, sit here, don't move, because I wanted to get him on camera, and I could tell he was like not probably cool with me forcing it, but I'm like, sit still, dude, like, we got to get a shot of you, and he was like, what? Which I thought was cool, because we needed to show that this dude's had a huge effect on Garrett Marchbanks' development. Last year as a rookie, I thought he was squirrely. I don't think he really understood Supercross. And Ivan is turning him into a viable threat moving forward. So the guy needed to get his due. He's a good coach. You get your due. So I like that combo. I do think this was the perfect track for Garrett Marchbanks because it reminds me of Loretta's. It's kind of jumpy, it's kind of sandy, it's kind of ruddy, it's kind of grassy. I mean, it's not grassy, but it looks grassy on the side. It looks and feels like Loretta Lynn's. And I think that when you're 18 years old, you still have a lot of that amateur feel in you. You know what I mean? Eli Tomac probably doesn't remember where Loretta's even goes anyway. It's been so long. But for Marchbanks, it hasn't been that long since he was racing Loretta Lynn's. And the track just kind of felt and looked that way. And I thought it was perfect for him. Ivan even said, this is going to be a good one for him because it's Supercrossy, but it's more motocross where he's more comfortable. And I don't think he looked great in qualifying. He was okay. But, geez, at night, like, what the hell? That guy, he was flawless. I mean, he literally just shot out of the gate, got out front, and passing J Mart and winning the first heat. I was like, okay, that's Jeremy Martin. Like, I could see him passing, I don't know, someone else. I guess anyone in that top 4 or 5, I would have been surprised. But with J Mart, I was really surprised. And then the main, he was incredible. I got to say, Marchbanks has never been in the position to have to be clutch. And for those of you wondering what I mean by that is, in the NFL, a kicker kicking a field goal as time expires, or a basketball player hitting a free throw as time expires, or a three-pointer, that's a clutch gene where you have the ability in the biggest moments, the gnarliest moment, to just come through and not crack. I thought, man, he's never been in that situation, and I couldn't believe his last 2 laps. Sexton got to him, straight up got to him, and Marchbanks just held through. I mean, I did one of my lit pros on that corner, the off camber where they were going outside, jumping on, jumping off, and Marchbanks, I'm watching him every lap, and he's nailing that on-off, and even Sexton stopped doing it. He couldn't even do it. And for Marchbanks to do that every lap, that's incredible physically. But knowing that Sexton has caught you have 2 laps to go, and still sticking to that line and nailing it, that's clutch. And so this kid's 1 for 1 on having the ability to close out a race. I thought his last 2 laps were his strongest, cleanest. I mean, even Chase said to me on the podium, like, man, I thought for sure the end he would wither. And man, Marchbanks was awesome. That was incredible, and he gets credit. I will say this though, I want to calm everybody down. This doesn't mean I think he's going to go on a run and he's the guy now. I honestly, I don't even pick him for the podium next week at Indy. So let's be clear. This was the perfect environment for him, perfect moment, but it is a step towards where he's going. Last year he got a podium in the mud at San Diego, and I don't think anyone was like, well, it's on now. Like, this kid is taking advantage of environments that are helpful to him. He's executing in those environments, but then he's progressing along the way as well. So do I think he wins Indy? Do I think he gets on the podium Indy? No. But do I think that this race proves that this guy is figuring things out and is on the right track? Oh, yeah. And I think that's going to be awesome for him moving forward. And he's just going to continue to get better. And maybe 2021, he's a regular. But he took advantage of a great situation and showed that he's got it. And everything else is coming around. And I'm pretty impressed. I will slip this in here, and I don't like to do the gossip thing, but I'll do a little gossip. I had heard that the team was not thoroughly impressed with him, and I'm not saying like on a week-by-week basis, more in general, where they weren't super, super high. It wasn't one of those things where like Geico Honda is like, Jet Lawrence will never go anywhere. Like, they will never let him go anywhere. I know that TLD, KTM, they're not letting Pierce Brown go anywhere. Like, certain teams have these guys where there's no way they are going anywhere. Star Yamaha, they are not letting Justin Cooper go anywhere. I had heard that the team was kind of iffy on Marchbanks, and well, he's okay, but they weren't that happy. Well, what about now? That's all I have to say is, what about now? If they weren't happy, they are now, and they should be. And from what I understand, he is a free agent, so I would assume that they're going to try to make that not a possibility now. Because if I'm any other team, I'm going for him. I mean, why not? He's 18 years old, just won Daytona. He's getting better. I think he is very, very good over the next 3 to 5 years in that class. So if the team wasn't happy, they should be. And the big picture is this guy has got a good future. Chase Sexton, I'll give you a little insight. Again, when these guys come up to the podium, I always try to chat with them. I kind of warm them up. I talk to them a little bit, just kind of get them conversating with me a little bit. He was so pissed, and I like that. I mean, the guy is going for the title. He just doubled up from 5 to 10, and his points lead grew. He doubled up his points lead, and he was so mad on the podium, frustrated, hand in his head, just fuming, and I love that. And then he held it together in the interview, and I wanted to kind of throw at him, I guess, something on the lines of, hey, I know you're not happy, but you've got to take a positive from this. Threw that at him, and he accepted the fact that, yes, it's good for the championship, but then he followed up by saying he wasn't happy. And I I like that. He's got a good attitude. You get second place, you double up the points, and you're pissed off. That's great. And he was off all day. I apologize, Chase. I said you were never going to lose again. So obviously that means you're going to lose the next weekend. I am the worst predictor almost of all time. I get lucky every once in a while, but for the most part, you all know that I'm bad. I apologize. I said you were going to win forever, and you lost the next week. So sorry, Chase. But in all reality, he just looked off for him. And fought good, caught up to Marchbanks, got there, and then just couldn't get him. And big picture, great for him. But on the night, he was pretty pissed off. Behind them, I guess J-Mart got to third. I thought RJ had it. J-Mart, RJ, Shane, and Jordan, of course. That was a little weird. That was aggressive, and that was awkward, to be honest. And I mean, I don't know what was going on there. I mean, racing's racing, you're going hard, but those two, that was hard back and forth, and it didn't work out for either one, really. And Shane lost a spot. He went down. Jordan went down, so I'm sure they're both pretty bummed about it for different reasons. But anyways, yeah, that's the rest of the 250 class. Again, I'm not going to go all the way through everybody. Just wanted to touch on the things that stood out to me. So we'll take a break. We'll come back with our Scott USA Prospect listener questions.
Main Event Moto.
If you're a true Motohead, then motosport.com is your only choice when it comes to OEM or aftermarket parts for your bike. And when it comes to servicing your bike or giving it the punch you need to perform, it's EMT Racing. With motosport.com, you can get everything you need for your bike with great pricing and ridiculous speed on shipping. And with EMT, it's simple. Take your bike to the experts.
2020 is the year EMT takes over the performance world. If you don't know, now you know.
Your Bat Bros choose motosport.com and EMT Racing, and you should too. Motoheads, do you want to stand out on and off the track? Make sure to check out Viral Moto for your jersey lettering and apparel needs. That's viralmoto.com.
Because having a blank jersey is about as bad as Vincent's golf game.
And when it's time to get a screen printing project done for your business or personal use, you have one choice. It's screenprintingdone.com.
Neil is the man. You know those Main Event Moto sweatshirts you're wearing? Yeah, Neil at Screen Printing Done did those.
You know that sick new Viral Moto shirt you're wearing? Yeah, Neil did those too.
We like to look good. That's why we choose Viral Moto and ScreenPrintingDone.com.
All American Chevrolet in Killeen, Texas is a proud supporter of Main Event Moto and invites all the Moto heads to experience the difference for all of your Chevy sales and service needs. Mention Main Event Moto and get 50% off your next oil change and a front-end alignment at no charge. Remember, whether you're hauling your bikes to the weekend track, trail, or race, or commuting to the job that pays for your moto habit, we have the truck to get you there in style. Visit us online anytime at ChevyKilleen.com. That's all American Chevrolet of Killeen. Chevy, find new roads.
Main Event Moto Podcast.
And we're back. Before we get to the Scott Prospect listener questions, again, just want to give a huge shout out to the sponsors that make this show happen. And again, you guys are killing it. I have some of our sponsors hit me up and say that they'll either meet somebody that talks about the show, or they get the orders. You know, the Mika Metals, Guts Racing gets their orders. I just got to say, you guys are absolutely crushing it as far as supporting the sponsors that help us out. That's why this show exists. I've told you guys this before. We've had different times where Joe and I had to question whether the show would continue or wouldn't, and the sponsor support is what keeps this thing going. And you guys out there are the ones that are killing it. So Fly Racing, of course, they got that new spring gear out, which was looking good. Again, I'll be ordering mine for Salt Lake City Futures. I'm getting the black and gray. It looks like the Oakland Raider kind of color scheme. I'll be getting that for Futures. Evan's getting a new set as well for the last two Futures races that he's going to do. Motosport.com. I'll be picking a gift card here in this segment. Mika Metals, Scott USA, Guts Racing, No Toil, and everybody on Instagram who has been giving me your podiums for the No Toil giveaway. Y'all been struggling, but it's not your fault. These guys have been all over the place, but this week a whole bunch of you got the podium right. So we'll be doing a random draw from No Toil to see who gets the $100. All-American Chevy of Killeen, Screen Printing Done, EMT Racing, DRS Suspension with Race Tech. Thank you guys. Viral Moto. Check out Viral_Moto. They're doing great things right now for, this was crazy, but the tornadoes that hit Nashville was brutal. I woke up and found out that a tornado dropped down like in downtown, and it's, I mean, and a lot of people died, and I can't believe that happened. But the guys at Viral Moto, are from the Tennessee area, and they are trying to do some benefits to help with that. So go to viral_moto or go to viralmoto.com and see if you can help. Love what those guys are doing. Old Meat Creations, the graphics are almost done. You guys will have Main Event Moto graphics coming here soon. And then, of course, Law Tigers, and that's a perfect transition. Let's do our Law Tigers weekly update.
Motoheads, we ride with Law Tigers, the lawyers who ride. Visit lawtigers.com or call 1-800-LAW-TIGERS for more information. The Law Tigers watch over their own, and with Law Tigers, you'll never ride alone. And now, our weekly Law Tigers update.
All right, Law Tigers, thank you guys for having my back. I got to tell you right now, though, the wife is supportive. I don't think I'm going to need to use the Law Tigers unless, of course, I crash while practicing. But Maggie's been super cool. She's fired up. She's going to be there. She's going to make me sandwiches on race day. And I'll be dialed in for Salt Lake City Futures. This week, guys, I crushed it. We're going back-to-back weeks of me eating better, and what that means is pretty much cut the fast food and junk food in half. No more late-night bowls of cereal for now. And I even worked out. Me and Evan got some dumbbells out this week, and we did dumbbells, we did push-ups, we did sit-ups. We're training. We're literally a team training for Salt Lake City to get ready for Futures. So, Law Tigers, thank you guys for having my back. It's going to be a fun one, and I can't wait for Salt Lake City Futures. All right, let's get into our Scott Prospect listener questions. Again, I posted this in the Instagram. A lot of people actually hit me up and ask, where can we do this? And I guess I should probably be a little more detailed. It's in Instagram. Go to our Main Event Moto Instagram. Every week I post the Scott USA Prospect listener question pick, and you guys can fire away with your questions. This week I did say short, unique, creative. That's how you get read, and that's how it's going to be from here on out. So if you guys want to be have your question read, be short, be unique, and be creative. We're going to break the racing down, so if you ask me what I think about Eli Tomac, probably won't read that. If you give me a 2-hour paragraph on what you think of Ken Roczen, probably won't read that. So be creative, be short, and be unique, and you'll be read. Scott USA Prospect listener questions. Here we go. First one, Jason Manus 39. Did the series just end at Daytona? No way, man. The opposite. This thing is good. We're getting ready to go to a couple tracks where Kenny, I think, is going to be great. Indy, Detroit, Seattle. It's all good stuff right here. I will say this, though, and I may have said this before. Las Vegas and Salt Lake City are two of Eli Tomac's best tracks. If you're Ken Roczen, don't go into those final two behind and think you're going to pull a miracle. You need to be ahead. Eli is incredible at those two spots. So I think Ken Roczen needs to go on a little bit of a run here, and I think he can. His starts are so good. I think he's got a shot at this thing, and I think, honestly, these two, I hope, are going to continue to elevate each other and push. I hope Anderson and Webb and Barsh, I hope everybody gets in the mix and makes this thing exciting. But I think we got a two-man race, and it is not over. Next one from Cody Seiler. He says, please bring Pedrogan to Indy. It's what the people want. So I'll spill the beans a little bit. Our listenership this year has grown. The biggest jump we've had in any year since we've done this. I don't know why. I'm assuming it's probably the Racer X relationship. They're just doing a killer job in promoting us on their Instagram and Facebook and website. And so a lot of you don't know what Pedrogan is. Those of you who do know, you're probably laughing. Pedrogan is the all-black button-up shirt that I've worn a couple times while doing TV. Every once in a while, I take the jacket off, and I want to just try to look. To be honest, I just get jealous of Will, because she always gets to look good. She's got freaking leather jackets, and she just got all outfits. She just looks cool all the time, and I'm always wearing the logo jacket. So I've tried to look cool, and people make fun of me, mainly producer Joe. He says I look like a mix between Pedro from Napoleon Dynamite and Joe Rogan. So the Pedrogan shirt has been retired. You guys are going to love this. I brought it to Daytona. I had all intentions of wearing it at Daytona. It was negative 10 degrees in Daytona. I didn't wear it. I'm bringing it to Indy. If the temperature's right, Pedrogan's coming back. I don't know when yet, but I will sneak it in sometime this year. I will bring Pedrogan back. You guys be ready. And hopefully I'll be thinned out enough to where it actually fits, because usually the buttons are ready to burst on that sucker. So, give me a couple more weeks maybe. Maybe, oh man, I guess we're losing. We got 2 more indoor, right? Seattle's outdoor, Denver, Foxborough. Yeah, we got a couple more shots at it, but if I can lose about 5 more pounds, I think Pedrogan's coming out. All right, next one. Dio, he says, rolling the whoops after 250 heats. Good, he says, good move to protect the riders, or bad move since that was the most exciting part of the track? It was a good move, and I'll address the whoops right now. What happened is they rebuilt them, and when they did, they tried to clean them up nice and, how they were in practice. They were just a little too sharp. And the problem is, it's dark, which these guys hadn't ridden in the dark. They come over that thing, and they were skipping them. And then when they would skip, they would drop in, and they were steep. And I just think it was an accident. It wasn't. It was just a little bit. They didn't clean them up the right way. Maybe they needed to be rounder. I think maybe they wanted to hold up a little bit better throughout the night. And man, they snuck up and bit the 250 guys. I feel bad, especially for Nick Gaines. That guy has been coming on strong. Had a great start. He's up there. I feel so bad for him, and of course all the guys that went down in him, but mostly him. It jumped up and bit him. He came in hot like he did in practice. They were a little steeper and sharper than he knew. It was dark. So rolling them out, I think, was the good thing. And it was just an accident. I think it was just bad luck, bad combination. But it was good to roll them back out for safety, because those things, again, they were coming in so fast and it was dark, and it just sucks. Next one, Austin Saunders, DB, you need more than 2 weeks of training, my guy. Your ego is way bigger than your ex-pro abilities. I think I said I needed 3 weeks, Austin, and you got to remember, my ego is also, I literally joke so much, and it's sarcasm mixed with ego. I really do think that I could get into a night show if I had a little bit of time. I don't think I really do think I can. I'm not having a big ego. I really think I can, but I also am pretty sarcastic, and that kind of, maybe I'm just not very good at it. But I'm half joking, half serious. It probably would take more than 3 weeks. But I'm being playful. So, anyways, but I kind of think I could do it. Next one, Hayden Ferguson 327 is the greatest thing we've ever heard Ricky Carmichael trying to say all the cool things about his track design as he watches his track commit mass murder on 250 guys. That's pretty funny. I'm going to write your name down as a potential gift card guy, because that's funny. No, I mean, Ricky is obviously hyped up. He's promoting the track. Again, I think the track was good for practice. I thought it was awesome. It was challenging. It had everything on it that made it cool. Rhythm, sand, ruts, off-cambers, high speed, low speed. It just didn't race well. And again, the mass murder, the mass murder almost came to Ricky in opening ceremonies, which was the best thing ever. When he swapped and almost went, and he had a microphone in his helmet too. So when he swaps and almost goes down, he goes silent on the mic, and I'm behind the podium just kind of hanging out, and Chad Reed walks up and goes, dude, did you see what Ricky just did? And I said, yes, I did. And I'm like, Chad, you're going to be on the broadcast, you're going to be talking to Ricky. They're giving you a headset after the heats. He's like, oh, yeah, that's right. I'm going to say something. I'm like, dude, just tell Ricky that's what he looked like in 05. And Chad's dying laughing, and he's like fired up. Then I'm on the headset talking to Bondo, and I'm like, Bondo, do we have any clip of that? And Bondo's like, oh, I got the clip. And I said, okay, save it for Chad. Chad wants it. And Bondo's laughing. He gets it. I go back to Chad. I'm like, hey, we got a clip of it too, so be ready to, whatever. And Chad's like, you got to remind me, because he'll forget, So after the heats, I actually had to go do a lit pro, but I jammed over to Chad's pit and said, don't forget about the Ricky swap and the whoops. And he's like, okay, I got it. So then I ran to go do my thing, and I'm watching on the monitor while it happens. And of course, first it's like they're just respectful, and I'm watching these guys respect each other, and I'm like, all right, when's Chad coming out with the haymaker? And then finally, Chad, hey, bud, and gave him the goods. And Ricky was super embarrassed because I don't think he knew the truck had the clip. He didn't know Chad was going to go there. Like, it was awesome. We got him good. Sorry, Ricky. Next one, Stout 15. Why do you think Jeremy Martin is always licking his gloves before the start? I have never seen this. Is this true? Is this true? Licking? Breathing, maybe? I mean, I used to breathe on my gloves when it was cold because it was cold Saturday night. If this is really happening, I need to see this, and I will ask Jeremy. I will ask him for you guys, and I'll get a video of it. But I need proof before I ask him. If he's really licking his gloves, especially with the coronavirus out right now, I feel like that is so unhealthy. And for a guy like Jeremy who trains hard, I know his nutrition's good. If he is licking his gloves, we got a problem, and I'll get to the bottom of it. But I need proof before I ask, dude. This ain't fake news over here. Next one, Cody975 Piscatelli. Legit props on the inside single versus outside double rut segment. That was genuinely interesting. All right, I got to tell you guys right now. Every time I do a stand-up or an interview, I'm like the most... I don't even know what the word is. I'm so critical of everything that I do because you guys know I care about this so much. And when I get done with an interview, I'm immediately like judging my performance, which I'm weird. I know, whatever. I'm a little over the top. But when I got done with my second Lit Pro on the comparison from the inside outside, I legitimately was like, I was like ready to fist pump whoever. I was air fist pumping because I knew that was a good segment. Me and the Lit Pro guys, we worked on trying to find something unique. We found it, and I was so pumped that the track crew didn't clean that section up because I'm like, oh my God, I get to show what this really means. And so I literally jam over there. I look, I'm like, oh, perfect. And when I got done with that one, I knew it came out like exactly the way I wanted it to. And then the best part is late in the main event, because I knew it would be a factor, Marchbanks is still doing it, and Sexton stopped doing it. He couldn't get the rhythm, and all the ground that he gained, he lost. And I was just pumped that like it all worked out and tied in the right way. And I legitimately was fired up after that segment because I knew that we put something together really good, and that was teamwork, major work. Me and the truck talking. We knew the camera we wanted. My camera guy. We had a plan where to be. We produced that segment kind of on the fly, but really quickly, and I thought it came out just exactly what I wanted. I was pumped. That was team effort. We crushed that one. So next one, Black Sheep 356. Who is the biggest bust this year? Baggett has been full of bad luck. Oh man, I mean, bust is a tough word again because you don't know everything. I don't know what's going on. I talked to Blake earlier in the year, so I don't know if there's more to it. But I mean, if you look on paper and just the way it's gone, but. Again, it's so hard when you don't know exactly what these guys are all going through all the time. So there could be more to it that I don't know. And I mean, on paper, I wouldn't say the word bust, but I'll say it's disappointing. Like, he got one podium, and he was pretty good last year. But it's been a rough go for him. Again, him and Jordan Smith, I'd say. Two of the rougher goes as far as issues, but again, there's more behind the scenes that you just all don't know, and neither do I. Next one, Tim K125. It's been a good 50 years, but I think it's time the series ditches Daytona. The restrictions on the track build have made it one line going slow. 2 Dallas or 2 Atlanta rounds from now on, please. No way. Like, no way. I've heard people pretty upset. I know people are just hammering Mathis right now, too. I guess Steve hammered the event pretty hard. I'm going to have to listen to the review show to find out exactly what he said word for word, but I think he's pretty bent on it, too. And I understand that side of it, but, man, that event is like, it's rad. It's got this different feel. It reminds me of Monster Cup in a way where it's just unlike anything else. Now, Monster Cup, of course, is in Vegas where we already raced, but it's non-points, so whatever. Not everyone's there. But there's something about these one-offs that aren't like the rest that just have this different feel and vibe. And, man, if you saw the crowd and the way they acted after the race, the mood in the pits, I mean, people... I understand what you're saying, but there's not enough of an issue with what you're saying to take away the fact that Daytona is awesome. And I hate that place. Like, as a racer, I suck there. So anti, like, my skill set. But as an event, it's incredible. It's awesome. So I just disagree, man. I'm so sorry. No gift card. In fact, I think you need to pay. I'm just playing. Meryl.tj, I saw a listener question last week and wanted to know your guys' thoughts. I have noticed that the pits aren't what they used to be. Do you think they will ever get back to giving out tons of stickers or having a bunch of activities again? Ooh, I don't know what you're talking about. I feel like the Fan Fest has been like one of the best we've had this year. The activations, maybe the teams aren't doing as much stuff. You got to remember, like, Moto Triple X guys aren't there. The RCH team, remember Kenny Watson was always big on just making it like loose and fun. So maybe if you're talking team stuff, maybe. But as far as the Fan Fest, everyone I talk to loves it. There's a lot going on. You get to play the video game. You got the bikes, the bikes with the freaking goggles that you put on. I don't, whatever it's called. I forget. I'm having a brain fart. I'm sorry. I don't know. I think the pits have been cool. I don't know what you're talking about all the way on that. Unless you're talking teams not being as involved with the fans, and that I just don't know. I'm sorry. EK Harvey, he says, is RJ the sketchiest 6th year 250 Supercross rider in history? Yeah, or you can say he is the baddest ass as far as saving things in history. That dude, he goes for it, but he always has. I remember watching him at, I think, Monster Cup when he was an all-star 250 rider, and I'm like, dude, that dude guns it. And he's never been any different. He goes for it, and for the most part, he's pulling it off. Like, I think he crashed maybe late in the main, but I think he's still got 4th or 5th. I mean, yeah, he's RJ goes for it. He's a little squirrely, but, dude, personally, I love watching him ride. He's one of my favorite guys to watch ride, and the dude, if there was such thing as 110%, he's your guy. It's mathematically not possible, but if it was, RJ is your guy who gives more than 100%, and he's fun to watch. Next one, Taylor Johnson 515. Is Cooper Webb trying to get a Monster sponsorship along with his Red Bull on his podium? I'm so glad this happened. Because remember earlier in the year, a couple weeks ago, when I went to thank Chase and I called him Shane Chase, big ol' oops, which, you know, again, I'm critical of myself, but I thought that one was funny because it was just a mix-up. When Cooper did that, I was happy because now I'm not the only one to just lay an egg on the podium. And when I heard it, I was like, wait a minute, did I just hear him thank Monster Red Bull? And then say that Red Bull is the greatest energy drink there is on the earth, or so, whatever he said was awesome, and I think it's so funny. And again, it tells you right there that Webb's not programmed, because, well, or maybe he is, but he's been on Red Bull KTM for a year and a half now. But for him to drop the Monster, either he's programmed and he went into an old file in his head, or he's not programmed and was staring at a big M or whatever. But I thought it was hilarious, and I thought it was great, and I hope. In fact, next week I'll get you guys a video. I'll give him a hard time because he's a smack talker. So I'll give him the goods next week, and I'll post a video on the Instagram. All right, next one, Thompson 575. Were you as disappointed as I was when Barsha went down in front of Tomac and let him by? It's not over, right? I want drama. Come on, DB, tell me it's not. I told you guys, they don't forget. These guys don't forget. Oh, another thing that I thought was funny, Barsha and Baggett were walking the track together on Saturday, and me and Will walked up to him and were like, hey, why are you two walking the track together? Are you plotting? And they both like played into it. They're like, oh yeah, we're just trying to find what corner we're gonna get him, and but they were like super funny about it. And anyways, it was cool to see two riders who both are probably not happy with Eli walking the track, and then throw a little at him and have them both respond that way. I thought that was pretty funny. Again, those guys they're both pretty goofy when it comes to that stuff. But yeah, I'm with you, Thompson. When he went down, I was like, man, because Barsha was gonna make it. Like I said, I don't think he's going to just spear him. He's got his own things he's fighting. He's not. I don't think Barsha's going to look for the haymaker as much as he's going to just be a nightmare for Eli. And when he went down, yeah, it just I was a little bummed because I'm thinking to myself that would have been fun to watch for a minute. Cheddarbug 67. Why does Will look 10 times better with her hair pulled back? Cheddarbug, I don't know about that. I think Will looks great either way. Maybe that's just your thing. I don't know. I think she looks just fine either way, but I will let her know that Cheddarbug67 wants her hair pulled back because it's 10 times better. Wow, that's a big number, Cheddarbug. I'll let her know. Next one, Nate Dog 38. Is Marchbanks the overlooked 250 East rider of the season? Can he back up tonight's perfect performance? No, he cannot back up tonight's perfect performance. That was an incredible ride. And yeah, he's been a little overlooked to start the season, but it hasn't been incredible. I mean, dude, Joe Shimoda laid him out last week, and he was having an off night, and he's been like better this year, but it hasn't been like setting the world on fire. It's just been like a step in the right direction. And then, of course, Daytona is like psychotically good. But no, I wouldn't say overlooked, but I would say, yeah, maybe the improvements that we're seeing have been a little bit overshadowed. Or, you know what? We'll say overlooked. Yeah, it has been overlooked, but not crazy amount. He hasn't done anything to really deserve the hype that he's getting now. But it's quietly been pretty solid and a big improvement. The next one from Ryan Geyers, and I just lost my spot. There it is. Ryan Geyers, sorry. That was nice of you to loan out Evan's new 85 to Benny Bloss. Yeah, dude, honestly, Benny Bloss, he's a big dude on his Yamaha. He looks big, but, okay. He looks ginormous on that KTM. I don't know if it's because it's got a skinnier front fender and it's just skinnier back, but he looks insanely huge on the KTM for some reason. I noticed that this weekend when I saw him, and I don't know if it was the gear because he was wearing the new Fly gear and it's white on top, then that Miami Dolphin color on the bottom, so you kind of get to see his body separate. So he's got his top half, bottom half, and dude, the dude's legs are so long. But he did look huge this week. Next one, Brody Richard 263. At Daniel Blair 125, at producer Joe Gallo. Do the riders still have to do sound check even though it's outside? Because these bikes were screaming. I don't recall them being so loud before. I don't know, Brody, I don't know why you're asking at producer Joe Gallo. He was not in Daytona. He would not know. Joe went to Anaheim. He sat at the very top. He went nowhere near the track or the bikes. Joe has no clue. And as far as me knowing, I don't know at all. But yeah, producer Joe, he don't know at all. Sorry, Joe. Leland John 1. What's worse, winning the gift card and DB taking it away and giving it to someone else, or qualifying 41st? Well, if you qualify 41st, you're missing out on like a couple grand from the night show. And if you lose the gift card because someone just steps it up and takes it from you, that's only a couple $100 or yeah. So 41st is way worse, Leland John. Did I do that to him? I'm going to write you down right now as the winner. And if I have to take it away again, I apologize. But right now, you'll get it. But if someone brings some heat here in the last couple, I'm sorry. But right now, you got it. DJ Humphreys, you get lapped and your race should be over. Example, you're in 22nd and you get lapped. Get off the track. You just finished in 22nd. I don't know if I disagree with that. I think that's... I mean... Kind of in a way I don't, because lap traffic is such a cool part of the racing, especially late, navigating that. It plays such a role. But then again, if you get the guy and lap him, like how often do you lap someone twice? Usually they'll pull off. I don't know. I'm not for or against that, but I'll tell you right now, there's a part of me that thinks that's a good idea. If you get lapped, get off the track. You're done. And I'm going to lean towards maybe I think that's a good idea. I got to think about it. Next one, XOXO Lindsay. How bad do your balls hurt from Emig and RC repeatedly busting them in your Race Day Live press day interview with them? XOXO Lindsay, you got to know me well enough to know by now. Like, I make fun of my racing career. My racing career was what it was. I look at it as a funny chapter. Part of me is extremely bitter about the lack of full effort that I give, but then part of me just kind of laughs because it is what it is. So when I step into it with those two, because those two, I mean, you don't know them behind the scenes. They're funny. They can't stop talking smack, and they do it with me too. I've gotten into knowing how to provoke them into getting pretty funny. So that interview, I did that all on purpose, and yeah, they gave me a pretty hard time. But I liked it. I thought it was funny, and I stepped in it. I did it on purpose. So Y'all know how I think about my racing career. I laugh at it. Joel Hoffman, 18. What's worse, Garrett Marchbanks not mentioning any of his sponsors or Cooper Webb mentioning Monster? Well, Cooper Webb mentioning Monster is obviously worse. Garrett Marchbanks forgetting to mention his sponsors is incredible. Obviously, he doesn't get on the podium often, so he's not as programmed to read the list. And the podium was kind of harder to get. It was pretty high up and kind of whatever. I don't know. But when he didn't mention his sponsors, I did a standing ovation, just me and by myself, because I think there's nothing cheesier and stupider on this planet than hearing these riders list their sponsors on the podium. It is ridiculous. By the way, I want to give a huge shout out to Fly Racing, Motosport. I'm just kidding. Come on. You know what I mean, though. I think on the podium interviews that's no time for that crap. And I get why we do it in the sport, because it's tradition, and that tradition needs to be broken. It is stupid. So a round of applause, Garrett Marchbanks, for forgetting to list his sponsors. It's awesome. Next one, Tanner Angst. At Daniel Blair 125, I always love seeing the Lit Pro segments during the broadcast. How do you decide which guys to use for these segments, and how do you think the Lit Pro technology will advance and improve riders' lap times in the future? Well, I know they use it now, some. And so what happens is I get with the Lit Pro guys after qualifying. So they put them on certain riders. They got them on all kinds of guys. And then he gives me kind of a list of like who has them, what sections do you think, and we kind of just choreograph what would work, what would not work, depending on the section. And it's a team effort. I mean, obviously, I would say less from me. I give a little bit of input on what I'd like, and then they put it all together, because they're the ones that have the data and that can really make sure this all works. But it's kind of just a group effort thing. And I love that. Those are some of my favorite segments. Whenever I have those guys there and I get to do Lit Pro, I love it, because I get to go into like breakdown mode. You know, like during the races, you're constantly trying to analyze in the moment. You're trying to bring some stories that you've learned that day or that week, to give some layers to the broadcast. But when I get Lit Pro, I get to kind of get off that and get to go technical, which I personally love that stuff. And when I get to see those little things, I'm fascinated by it just as a person. So when I get to do those breakdowns, I love it. I think the Lit Pro stuff it's honestly probably my favorite stuff that I get to do. Brandon Gibbon, is Ryan Sipes the baddest dude on two wheels? Yes. Ryan Sipes he is a boss in every which way. Like, straight up, when I was living at Tommy Hahn's house back in 2009, Tommy wasn't there, but Will Hahn and Ryan Sipes were there, and we would all ride together, train together. We would play basketball. We would play cards. Like, we had this fun little group, and that's when I became friends with him, which I still am to this day. I didn't get to see him this weekend, which bummed me out, but I love Ryan. He is just... He's smart. He realized at the end of his career that he's not going to be able to just make it doing one thing, and his way of continuing on is to diversify. And he has become just a badass on like so many different variations. And let me hop on Daytona Supercross and make the he's sick in every which way. Andrew Short's another guy like that. I have so much respect for these guys that can go and do multiple things, because they're just talented, and I love that they're still going. It's awesome. Alex says, do you think that there is any possibility that Seattle Supercross gets canceled due to the coronavirus? It's getting pretty serious over here in Washington. Oh, man. Before I answer this question, I'll give you a little bit of insight, I guess, on who I am as a person. I look at everything, at least when it comes to having an opinion, I look at it in three different ways. Number one, if I don't know something about something, I don't really say that much, because I don't know, and I would feel stupid having an opinion on something I don't know. And when it comes to the coronavirus, I don't really know. I know what I've read, and I don't trust what I've read, so I don't know. I also look at things in a way of, if I know a little bit, I'll throw out some opinions, but I always put up a disclaimer that I kind of know. So that way I give myself an out so I don't look stupid when I'm wrong, because I'm just guessing for the most part. And then there's things that I feel like I really do know, and I could be wrong, but I feel like I know them, and then I will give a strong opinion on that because I'm passionate and I believe it. That's when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys. I know everything about the Dallas. I know more than Jerry Jones knows about the Cowboys. I'll say that confidently. When it comes to Supercross, I'm pretty confident. I feel like I got a pretty good grasp on this. That's why I do this show and give you guys my opinions. When it comes to coronavirus and when it comes to sporting events and cancellations and complications and all that, I lean towards the first example. I don't know enough. I know what I've read online. I don't know. I don't know enough to have an opinion, and I don't want to give one. I really don't. I just know that I don't trust the media. That's all. Because I think the media has an agenda, and I think the media is a business. They're a money-making machine. So when they say something, I know that they're saying something because they're trying to make money for their business. So is it over the top? Is it worse? Is it better than we think? Is it worse than we think? I have no clue. I ain't a doctor. All I know is that this week on my flight, I had two people wearing masks sitting next to me, and they were taking shots of Jack Daniels and moving their masks to take shots of Jack and then putting their masks back over. I don't even know what that means, but I found it funny. And that's all I have to say about the coronavirus. Next one, Nick Waters, 103. If producer Joe could be trained by Daniel Blair for 30 days, could he beat Vincent Blair at a 3-lap moto at E Street? Joe, I apologize for this, but if I trained you for 3 weeks, I don't think you would beat my daughter Elena. So definitely not beating Vincent. Vincent's still pretty fast. Like, he can hop on a bike right now and be really fast. So sorry, Joe, but no chance whatsoever. Next one, Gibbo53, best race of the year. I don't agree with that. He said Plessinger is ripping at the moment. Keen to see how he does outdoor. I got a thought on that. Aaron's riding great, and he's getting better. Like, it's no joke. He has gotten a lot better, especially since he's gotten on the East Coast. He's staying at Barsha's, or he's riding at Barsha's. He has gotten a lot better, and I'm excited to watch him progress. You guys all know I love Aaron. I think he genuinely might be the coolest dude in the pits as far as the nicest guy, funniest guy. Like, Aaron is the absolute best. If he can just keep this thing going in the right direction, I think he's going to have a good summer. Remember last year, his summer got ripped from him, and then he came back halfway through, and he was horrible. God, Aaron, stay healthy, keep progressing, just finish this thing strong, because if he can go into the outdoors at 100%, I'm pretty optimistic that he's going to be pretty damn awesome. I want that bad for him. Next one, Cadillac 1025. Can Marchbank still be called the man-child with the mouth gear gone and a sweet stash? I got to admit to you guys, and if anyone that's a friend of Garrett, or if Garrett you're listening, I apologize for what I'm about to say, but when we were talking in the pits on Friday, I couldn't stop looking at your mustache because it's funny to me. I know you're 18 and you're proud that thing's growing in, but I don't know exactly what you're doing with that thing, man. That thing it's still a little peach fuzzy. Hey, just you do you, buddy. But dude, I couldn't stop staring at your mustache, and I think it's funny. I apologize if that's offensive, but bro, what are you doing with that peach fuzz? It's hilarious. Ivan, if you're listening, train this kid on the bike and off, and cut the stash. Anyways, next one. This one is actually two parts. The last one, Captain Gingerbread 90 and Miguel Tavares. They say, when is the podcast dropping? And then the next one was, where's the pod, my bros? Again, sorry about the podcast this week, guys. Next week will be a normal show after Indy. I think the next three are like just straight normal, like no problems, no travel issues, nothing, so it'll be back. But this one is just me, and if you stuck around to listen, I appreciate it. I hope you guys had a good time listening. And again, I really, truly do love this podcast. I love what I get to do. And I just appreciate that people actually want to listen. So thank you guys so much. And again, flyracingmotorsport.com. Leland 1, you're going to get the gift card. I can't take it from you twice. That would be so rude. Mika Metal, Scott USA, Guts Racing, No Toil, All American Chevy of Colleen, Screen Printing Done, EMT Racing, DRS Suspension with Race Tech, Viral Moto, Olmi Creations, and of course my friends, the Tigers of Law Tigers. Thank you guys so much. This is episode 157. Thanks for listening.
Main Event Moto. Screw it. You know it by now.